I never expected that sitting down for a solo dinner would change my night, let alone my body's chemistry. It was supposed to be a quiet escape from the tired routine I couldn't seem to break, waking up, going to work, coming home, repeating the same empty pattern every day. I had started feeling like I was just going through the motions, like life was moving, but I wasn't really in it anymore. I walked into that place out of impulse, drawn to its soft lighting, jazz humming through the speakers, and the promise of being left alone. And yet somehow I ended up in the bathroom with my back against the wall and someone else's breath warming my neck. It all began with a clumsy apology and a spilled drink. The restaurant wasn't even full, just a few quiet tables, a couple on a date, someone reading near the bar. I asked for a booth by the window, ordered a drink, and pulled out my phone to scroll through nothing important. Then I heard a voice, light, warm, distracted, and before I could fully look up, a cold splash soaked my right arm and part of my chest. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," the waiter said, already pulling a cloth from his apron. He reached toward me, hesitated, then gently patted at the spill on my shoulder. "I wasn't looking, I'll fix it." I looked at him then, really looked. He had a mop of brown curls, sharp cheekbones, and eyes too soft to belong in a place so dim. His name tag read Eli, and the first thing I noticed was the genuine panic in his face, not just from the mistake, but from how close we suddenly were. "It's okay," I said, smiling to calm him, though the chill of the drink was still seeping into my skin. "I've had worse." "I'll bring you another one," he said, already retreating, but not before his hand grazed mine as he grabbed the empty glass. It was a small touch, barely anything, but the warmth it left on my skin stayed long after he'd disappeared behind the bar. The new drink came quickly, this time with a folded napkin beneath it. I picked it up absently and felt something inside, smooth paper, thin. It was a phone number. No name. Just 7 digits scrawled in black pen. My heart kicked. I glanced up and across the restaurant. Eli looked at me, not like he was waiting for a thank you, but like he was daring me to use it. My fingers trembled as I reached for my phone. I typed the number, hit send. That was one hell of a spill. 3 dots appeared instantly. Then, "Wait for me in the bathroom." Back left. I looked up again. He was gone. And I stood slowly, my skin already buzzing, unsure if I was crazy or just finally alive again. I walked through the restaurant like I was floating, barely aware of my feet on the floor, only of my heartbeat in my throat. No one looked at me. No one asked where I was going. The hum of dishes, soft jazz, and low conversation filled the space behind me as I slipped past the bar, through the hallway near the restrooms, and reached the last door on the left, the one he had mentioned. I paused there, my hand on the handle, feeling the weight of what I was about to step into. Not just a moment, but a choice. My body already knew what it wanted. It was my thoughts that struggled to keep up. I opened the door slowly, and there he was. Eli stood leaning against the counter near the sink, his apron gone, sleeves pushed up, chest rising just a little faster than normal. The air was warm, still, thick with a tension neither of us could ignore anymore. "You came," he said softly, his eyes flicking down to my chest and then back up to meet mine. I closed the door behind me. "I had to," I replied, my voice lower than I meant it to be. "You wrote your number on a napkin." He laughed, quiet, nervous, but not unsure. "That's not something I usually do." "Neither is this." We stood there, still, waiting. And then I stepped closer. Our bodies moved in sync like they already knew the rhythm. He reached for my shirt, brushing his fingers over the spot he'd spilled the drink earlier. The fabric was still faintly damp. "Sorry about this," he whispered, looking down as his hand flattened over the stain. "I'm not," I said. When I leaned in, our lips met like we'd done it before. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, questioning, but it deepened quickly. His hands slid up my sides, under my jacket, fingers gripping just enough to pull me toward him. I pressed him back gently against the counter, one hand at his waist, the other in his hair, pulling slightly as our mouths moved with growing urgency. His breath hitched, and I felt the way his body arched into mine. Every touch was deliberate, his fingers at my belt, mine brushing under the hem of his shirt, skin meeting skin in quick, electric moments that said far more than words ever could. Clothes weren't fully removed, just pushed aside, just enough. I kissed down his jaw, down his neck, feeling him melt into it. His hands gripped my back, and when we finally touched like we had both imagined, it was fast but focused, tender but undeniable. He made a sound I'll never forget, half gasp, half moan, as I held him, moved with him, connected to him like it was something we'd been waiting for without even knowing. We didn't talk. We barely breathed. We just let it happen. And when it was over, when we were both still and quiet again, I rested my forehead against his and smiled through my pounding pulse. He exhaled slowly, then whispered that definitely wasn't just about the spill. I kissed him one more time, slow, deep, meaningful, before stepping back. No, I said, still catching my breath. That was something else. We left the bathroom separately, me first, a few minutes after, trying to act casual with my pulse still rattling in my chest like a warning I didn't want to listen to. Hey, thanks for watching until this point. Please leave a comment if you're enjoying the video. It really helps us grow the channel and reach more people. And hey, thank you very much. Let's get back to story. I sat back in my booth, heart thudding, shirt slightly rumpled, and when I picked up the napkin where he'd written his number, I pressed it between my fingers like it might disappear if I let go. Eli came out 10 minutes later. He walked across the floor like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just kissed me breathless, touched me with a tenderness that felt nothing like recklessness. But when he passed my table, his hand brushed the edge of it, fingertips grazing the back of mine. It was fast. No one noticed. But it sent a quiet jolt up my arm all the same. He didn't stop to talk. He didn't need to. I stayed for another 20 minutes, sipping the new drink he had brought me earlier, heart still fluttering in slow, uneven waves. When I finally got up to leave, I slipped a $20 bill into the check folder, far more than needed, and walked out into the cool night air feeling like my skin was still humming. I thought maybe that would be it. One of those moments you don't forget but also don't follow. A night that leaves a mark without leaving a future. But an hour later, back in my apartment, shirt off, lights low, I got a message. I'm off at midnight. Still awake. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering, body already answering for me. Definitely. There were no games, no pretending. Just two people who knew what had happened meant something, even if we hadn't figured out what yet. He arrived at 12:26. When I opened the door, he looked like the same guy who'd spilled a drink on me earlier, still in his work clothes, curls slightly messy from the night, face softer in the low hallway light. But his eyes said something else. They said you waited for me. I couldn't stop thinking about you, he said, not even trying to play it cool. I stepped aside. He walked in. We didn't kiss right away. We just stood close. Close enough for his hand to find my waist again, for my fingers to rest on his chest where his heart beat steady and sure. I thought it would just be physical, he admitted, voice low. That bathroom was crazy. But I haven't felt this wired around someone in a long time. I nodded, breath catching in my throat. I know exactly what you mean. Then he kissed me again, slower, deeper, with no rush. It was different now. Not urgent. Not secret. Just real. We ended up on my couch, legs tangled, bodies pressed close, whispering between kisses, laughing about how ridiculous it all was. His hand kept tracing slow lines on my arm, across my chest, like he needed to relearn every inch now that we had more than 5 stolen minutes to explore. We talked too about nothing and everything. He told me he'd been working at the restaurant for almost 2 years, that he mostly kept to himself, that he didn't usually take risks. I told him I'd only come in that night because I needed to feel something again. I never do stuff like this, he said. Me neither. And we both knew that wasn't a cliche. It was the truth. The kind of truth that makes you realize something rare just happened, and if you don't name it, you might lose it. When he left sometime after 3 a.m., he paused at the door, leaned in, and kissed me one last time, soft, slow, intentional. Then he said, I want to see you again. Like, really see you? And I said yes without hesitation. Because something had started. And it wasn't ending in a bathroom. I expected the magic to disappear in the daylight. That's what usually happens, right? You touch something in the dark, let yourself want it, let it light up the quiet spaces inside you, but when the sun rises, so do the doubts. Maybe it was just timing. Maybe it was just loneliness. Maybe it wasn't meant to matter. But the next morning, I woke up to a message from Eli. I still can't believe I did that. But I'm really glad I did. I read it 3 times before I answered. Me too. We didn't make plans right away, but the texts kept coming. Little things. Soft things. He told me when a customer annoyed him, when he dropped a plate, when his manager made him laugh so hard he nearly choked. I told him when work dragged, when I burned toast, when I couldn't stop thinking about his fingers on my waist. We didn't pretend it hadn't happened, but we also didn't pretend that it was just about the sex. By the end of the week, we set a time. We met at a tiny cafe 2 blocks from the restaurant. He was already there when I arrived, wearing a light gray hoodie, jeans, and that same nervous smile he'd had the first time he handed me a drink. I sat across from him, and for a minute we didn't say anything. Just smiled. Just breathed. "You look good without bathroom lighting," I said. He laughed, biting his lip. "You look good in general." We talked for hours, the kind of conversation that loops and drifts and somehow never gets awkward. He told me about growing up in a small town, how he came out late, how he never really thought he'd meet anyone in a place like this. I told him how I moved to this city hoping to feel more like myself, but instead got swallowed by work and routine. "It's weird," he said. "We barely know each other, but I feel like you already get me." I nodded slowly. Maybe because we didn't start with small talk. We started with, I trailed off, smiling. "Well, you know." His foot brushed mine under the table. "Yeah, I know." After that, we started seeing each other more. Not every night, not in a whirlwind, just slowly, like we were giving the connection room to breathe. He'd drop by my place after shifts. I'd bring him coffee when I knew he was working long days. We watched dumb movies, shared takeout, kissed for hours without needing anything more. And yet, sometimes we couldn't help it. We'd start slow, hands brushing, lips teasing, soft whispers between kisses. And then everything would deepen, heat rising under our skin, clothes slipping away just far enough. The way he touched me felt different than anyone before. Not rushed, not routine. He explored like he wanted to learn me. Every curve, every breath, every soft sound I made when he got it right. One night, as we lay tangled in my bed, his head on my chest, he whispered something I didn't expect. "I keep waiting for this to feel like a mistake," he said, "but it just keeps feeling like home." I didn't answer right away. I just wrapped my arm tighter around him, kissed the top of his head, and whispered, "Then let's keep following that feeling." And he held on to me like he already had. The first shift didn't come from something either of us did. It came from something unsaid. A pause in conversation. A glance that lingered just a moment too long without a smile behind it. We were lying in bed again, clothes scattered somewhere on the floor, his hand resting over my heart like he liked to do after, as if it helped him stay grounded. But this time, his breathing was too slow, too careful. "You're quiet tonight," I said softly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pressed his thumb gently over my ribs, then lifted his hand and rolled onto his back. "I think I'm just trying not to fall too fast," he said. It hit like a soft punch. Not cruel, not distant, but scared. And I understood it more than I wanted to admit. "I've been there before," I replied, staring up at the ceiling with him now. It burned me pretty hard. He turned his head toward me. Same. That was the beginning of a different kind of silence. Not the thrilling one before a kiss, but the kind that makes your chest feel too full. We didn't touch each other for the rest of the night. We didn't fall asleep in the usual tangle. We just lay side by side, close enough to feel each other's warmth, far enough that it felt colder than before. The next few days were strange. Not bad, not distant, just a little off. Our texts were shorter. His replies took longer. I told myself he was just tired, that work was probably weighing on him, that maybe I had imagined it all anyway. But that's the thing about connection. Once you've really felt it, silence isn't empty anymore. It's loud. And every unread message starts to feel like a door you're afraid to knock on. By the end of the week, I hadn't heard from him in 2 days. So I did what scared people sometimes do. I walked to the restaurant. It was early evening, just before his shift usually started. The place was still quiet, staff prepping tables, lights warming up. When I stepped inside, I saw him almost instantly, behind the bar, tying his apron, curls slightly damp from a rushed shower. He saw me, froze, and gave a small, unreadable smile. "Hey," he said, walking over. "Didn't expect to see you here. I wasn't sure you wanted to." He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I do. I just needed to clear my head." I nodded, trying not to let my disappointment show. "Did you figure anything out?" He looked at me, really looked at me, and I could see it in his eyes, the fear, the conflict, the wanting. "I figured out that I'm scared of how much I like you," he said. Because this wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not like this. My heart slowed. But it did. He nodded. Yeah, it did. A long pause stretched between us. One of the servers walked past, carrying a tray of clean glasses. I glanced at him, then back at Eli. So what now? He stepped closer. Not too close, but close enough that I could see the slight tremble in his fingers. I want to keep seeing you, he said. I just need you to know that I'm trying to get it right. Not rush. Not mess this up. I took a breath. Then nodded. Then we take it slow. But we don't stop. He gave a half laugh, half sigh, like something heavy had finally lifted. I finish at 10, he said. Can I come over? I smiled. Yeah, come home. And this time when he kissed me, it wasn't rushed. It wasn't in a bathroom or between shifts. It was quiet, steady, and full of something I hadn't expected to feel again. Hope. He came over after 10, just like he said. The restaurant had closed, the world was quiet, and when I opened the door, he looked tired in the way only someone at the end of a long shift can look, hair tousled, hoodie hanging off one shoulder, fingers wrapped around a takeout bag and a bottle of cheap red wine. I brought dinner, he said with a sheepish smile. Well, something close to it. We ate on the couch, barefoot, plates balanced on our knees, movie playing in the background but mostly ignored. He leaned his head against my shoulder halfway through and I didn't move for a long time. We didn't need to say much. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was warm. Full. After we ate, he got up to wash his hands, and I watched him walk into the bathroom, the same one where our second encounter began. It felt like years ago now. Like we'd lived a lifetime since that first moment, since that folded napkin and the spark that caught fire before either of us had time to think. When he came back, he didn't say a word. He just reached for my hand, guided me to the bedroom, and undressed with the same calm as someone unpacking after a long trip. No urgency, just relief. We made love that night slowly, without whispers or laughter, just soft breath and gentle touches, like we were both trying to say everything our mouths couldn't yet find the words for. Afterward, he laid against me, one arm thrown across my chest, fingers tracing lazy circles just below my collarbone. His voice came quiet in the dark. You feel safe, he said. It's been a long time since someone made me feel that. I didn't answer right away. I just turned my head, kissed his hair, and held him tighter. We slept like that, entwined, steady, the kind of sleep you don't even remember falling into. In the morning, we woke up tangled in sheets and soft light. I made coffee. He stole my socks. We brushed teeth at the same sink, shoulder to shoulder, grinning like idiots when our eyes met in the mirror. And when he left, he didn't say goodbye. He said, I'll be back tomorrow. Now, it's been weeks. He still works at the restaurant. I still come by sometimes, but now when our hands brush, we don't have to pretend it doesn't mean something. When I stay late, he walks me home. When he's off, we cook together, laugh too loud, and sometimes lie on the floor for no reason just because being close feels better than anything else. It started with a mistake. A spill. A napkin. It could have been nothing. But instead, it became everything. And every time I kiss him now, every time I fall asleep beside him and wake up to his smile, I remember how it all began, with a number, a glance, and the kind of chemistry you can't plan. He was my waiter once. Now, he's the reason I believe in sparks again. A year later, we still laugh about the spilled drink. It's become our thing, the moment that changed everything, the accident we both secretly thank the universe for. Every time we go out, Eli jokingly threatens to pour something on me just to keep things exciting. I pretend to flinch. He always grins. We moved in together 3 months ago. Nothing dramatic. No big announcements. Just his clothes slowly mixing with mine, 2 coffee mugs instead of one in the sink, and a key left on the hallway table with no explanation. He never had to ask. I never had to say yes. Now, I fall asleep to the sound of his breath and I wake up to the warmth of his hands searching for mine beneath the covers. He still leaves me notes on napkins, post-its, receipts from the grocery store. Sometimes they say, dinner's in the fridge. Sometimes they say, still can't believe you walked into that bathroom. Every note makes me smile. Because we didn't just start something that night. We kept it. And somehow we're still unfolding.